So we got some interesting Mortal Kombat 1 news because a lot of people have been able to play chapter 1 of the story mode, and everyone's favorite got revealed, of course, Kronika. So let's talk about her, what her role in the story is, and if she's going to be on the roster or not. And today we're going back to memes just for this because I think it's hilarious. It's one of my favorite memes right now. Freaking Kronika sitting with a blanket around her like she's some final girl in a horror movie, and it says Kronika after taking the final roster slot. And I think it was on theme today because that's what we're going to talk about, as well as the recent story leaks that came out. We'll try to see like what makes sense, what might be real or not as well. So of course, if you don't want any story spoilers for Mortal Kombat 1, you should probably not watch this video. So in the story mode, we see Kronika approaching Shang Tsung, who's a snake oil salesman, right? He sells fake cures, fake magic, so he doesn't seem to have any power at this point in the story. And if you recall from Reptile's bio, it says that a shady figure abducts his family. So could that shady figure be Shang Tsung or Kronika to be able to get Shang Tsung actual powers, right? Because as we know, Shang Tsung can morph into people by sucking their souls essentially, and we know that Reptile can shapeshift from a human to a reptilian form, but he also doesn't have any sort of knowledge whatsoever from past timelines because he doesn't recognize Kronika, which was pretty easy to recognize, you know. Kronika, who we will henceforth refer to as Nunika, and come on, she's got the same eyes, she's got that thing on her head, even though she's got the nun hood, it's Kronika. But I do think she has a different voice actor though. Basically tells Shang Tsung that he can become powerful again if he joins her and they can rule the world together. But of course Kronika's probably in it for herself, but you know, pretty much how this story goes, right? That's the only tidbit we do get of them in the story chapter. So taking that into consideration, let us look at the leaks that did mention Kronika in the story. The first leak was by BRNR741. They said that Cybersmoke is the last character, that Geras and Kronika fusion is the final boss, so Geronica. And I know a lot of people were making memes about this. The fact that Nunika is in the freaking story, dude, kind of makes this more believable. Now the other point is that someone who looks and sounds like Kronika, if it walks and talks, manipulates Shang Tsung. It's actually Geras. Geras manipulates Shang to bring it back Kronika. So the person we saw talking to Shang Tsung could actually be Geras and not Nunika herself, because he wants her back. I guess Liu isn't a great boss, eh? Which makes sense because look what he did to the freaking timeline, bro. He shafted his best friend, made Raiden the champion, like come on. And then it says that Kronika wins, kills Liu Kang, and then it takes control of the hourglass once again. But that would be kind of weird because it would go back to exactly what it was in Mortal Kombat 11. So is MK1's story only about history repeating itself and then going back to the same spot it was before? Because that's freaking weird, you know, because we know this is a direct continuation of MK11. So if they want to move the story further in more games, then it would be really weird to just go back to the beginning to how it all was, right? Or maybe that is the point, to go back to that original timeline, although that would be freaking confusing and I'm not sure how they would do that. But it's like there's a first timeline, then there's a second timeline, and then there's a third timeline, but they go back to the first timeline. Jesus, I just don't know about this. And if we take in consideration that other leak with the Titans fighting, you know, kind of makes sense because they would have to be a Titan to fight a Geras and Kronika fusion. I hope they do the fusion dance, that would be sick. Maybe Shang Tsung actually joins them once again, like the good guys, to fight Kronika. But that's just like a repeat of MK11, so I really don't see the point in that. It's not because that Nunika actually shows up in the freaking story that all these leaks are immediately true, right? That's just not how it works. I'm going to believe they're not going to do a repeat of MK11, but hey, I might be wrong, of course. But let me know what you guys think about this first leak. Now let's look at the second one, which was an anonymous leak on 4chan. They say, again, that Cybersmoke is the last character, Meat is a cameo, Shang Tsung is a sub-boss, the final boss is Geras, a Nunika fusion with a Centurion cameo, which, okay, fine, happens. End credit teases Onaga. Why would Onaga just not be in this? Like, we saw his freaking army, dude. He's definitely in this in some shape or form. Shujinko is Raiden's cousin. I believe it. Shujinko gets put in a time prison and becomes an old man by the end. But again, they just might be yanking her chain because, like, there will be a young Shujinko and old Shujinko skin. Like, who knows, dude. It says that Sindel is good but dies, becomes evil. When she comes back, then becomes good again. Just the whole good to evil to good again speedrun any percent. But if if we look at her bio, it's clear that she wants to protect her daughters and that she's not evil at all. She actually had a good relationship with Jared and then he died. And now her throne is being threatened, right? Her rule, as it were. It doesn't seem to me like there's any seed of her being evil, but of course if there's a big plot twist like that they wouldn't put in her freaking bio, but I'm just saying it doesn't look like she will do that, but again, might be wrong. The leak goes on to say Smoke doesn't die but he leaves the clan, which we know because we saw a clip of him saying for the Shirai Ryu, which is wild. Hanzo is the Link Way Grandmaster and ends up becoming Noob Saibot. Hanzo is the father of Bihan and Kuwai Liang. Noob is an NPC. Ermac kills Tanya, but Quan Chi brings her back. Tremor is irrelevant to the story. Why would Ermac kill Tanya? He couldn't rip off Jax's arm in this timeline, so he just goes for Tanya, like what? And how many people are being brought back? Like Quan Chi brings back Tanya, does he bring back Sindel too? Like in the old timeline? Like it's really hard to try to figure out if these story leaks are real or not because everything is so out of context, and even though it seems crazy, it could very well happen. Because if someone yesterday or the day before yesterday would have told me, hey, Smoke beats the heck out of an old lady and throws her over a railing after smashing her head against it, I would be like, okay, sure, bud. But that did happen. But here's my point. I think that regardless of a story, Kronika could be that last roster slot, and the reason that no one wanted to leak her was because of the big story implications, right? Or maybe because NRS knows that it won't be a hype last slot. Then again, why keep her under wraps only for her to be revealed in the story, right? Because if it is really Geras in a Kronika costume, then she probably won't be on the base roster, right? Because we already have the playable boss, and that is Shang Tsung. So the mystery of the last character still remains. It could be Cyber Smoke, like people are saying. It's definitely not Noob Saibot because the guy who said that also said that Raiko and Nitara were gonna be shown at Gamescom, but that turned out to be false. So do not hope for Noob Saibot because I don't believe it is him. Right now I am 50-50 on it being Kronika or a player created character. Because technically speaking, if Geras can turn into anyone, then maybe that is the basis of the player created character, right? Am I crazy? Let me know what you guys think about Nunika showing up in the story. About all the leaks so far, let me know what you think is actually real. And as always, have yourself a wonderful day, and I'll see you all very soon.